When Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first aired in 1993, it wasn't really the first tokusatsu genre that really took America by storm. There were other shows like Godzilla and Ultraman that did just that. But Mighty Morphin was that first show to really bring this genre to a whole new audience. However, 5 years before Mighty Morphin Power Rangers came out on a channel way different from Fox Kids, by the way, there was another show that showed the Americans a taste of what the Japanese action shows were like. Because before Power Rangers, there was Dynaman. Yo, what's up everybody, it's Este here, welcome back to another video, and today we're talking about Dynaman, one of the first Super Sentai series shown to a mass audience in the United States years before the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ever did so. Dynaman was originally the 7th ever Super Sentai series that aired between February of 1983 to January of 1984, and focuses on the rise of the Jashinka Empire, coming from the depths of the earth. Dr. Yumeno would assemble 5 highly skilled humans to his laboratory: martial artist Hokuto Dan, the ninja descendant Ryuu Hoshikawa, sumo surfer Yousuke Shima, environmentalist Kousaku Nangou, and the animal scientist Rei Tachibana. Yumeno would give these guys the power of explosions, and they would be known as Dynamen. Fun fact time, this series would be named in Japan as the Kousaku Sentai, Kousaku meaning gunpowder in English, mostly because of the amount of explosion that the series would have. They're called Dynamen for a reason, and you know, dynamite. There's actually a whole 2-minute video on YouTube just showing the compilation of all the different explosions that you would see in Dynaman. And you know what? Double fun fact, because the Dynamen were actually going to be a baseball Sentai. I'll throw up an image of what they looked like back in the day before the show came out. They're going to be called the V-Leaguers, huh? What about that? However, 3 years after the show ended, it would actually find itself in the United States on the USA Network on a program called Night Flight, which was a variety series that had defined the conventional formats and easy categorization seen on television at the time. With each episode running about 4 hours, that's like 2 movies. They showed a lot of different stuff, like music videos, artist interviews, B-movies, documentaries, short films, stand-up comedy, as well as animation. In all ways, this was kind of like a magazine in like a TV format. And it actually is kind of interesting seeing this parody dub of a Japanese series find itself in the show. And the reason why Dynaman would find itself on his network is one of the many reasons why Power Rangers and Tokusatsu has become popular today, like its hyper editing, the kung fu quick zooms, as well as many special effects that makes Toku. And this wasn't like the Power Rangers show that we knew today. No American actors being inserted over Japanese footage. It was simply an abridged dub, with new voiceovers and music being inserted into all the civilian scenes, ranger fights, and of course, the mecha battles. And you can tell the differences from his Japanese Sentai of origin just by reading the story. 5 good-looking Japanese friends from all walks of life. Wushi, their leader, is Dyna Red. Huba, able to reach tall trees, is Dyna Black. Frankie, the human outboard motor, is Dyna Blue. Cowboy, the slow-thinking weapons expert, is Dyna Yellow. And their main squeeze, Slowgene, is Dyna Pink. And funny enough, these cast of characters would be called the Dyna Kids. And in each episode, we would see them battling with Bernie Tanaka and Mel Fujitsu, who were former colleagues of their boss, Dr. Ho, which you can probably find the joke in his name. I'm not talking about the Minecraft Ho, by the way. It's a different type. As they battled tons of different monsters, including Spunky the Wonder Squid, Mr. Flipper, and the reptiles that go whee! I went for as long as I can. Before we move on to talking about the team that is filled with explosions, are you a part of the E-Squad? Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any single one of my future videos. And because I love the E-Squad so much, E-Squad comment of the day, leave a funny comment down below, put the E-Squad in it, and you might be in the next video. And may I say, even though there's a few episodes of this show, about 6, there's a lot of good jokes that actually have held up well throughout the years. That is, of course, if you mind these Canadians making kind of weird Japanese accents that may be a little problematic in today's world. To which, by the way, if you want to take a look at any of these Dynaman episodes, you can actually do so legally with a subscription to Night Flight Plus or Verve. Not sponsored, but you know, I had to mention. The different plots seen in each episode of the show is kind of as bizarre as the Tokusatsu genre itself is. The first episode, we would see a director of a failed idea of a music video turn into a crab-like monster. Of course. And episode 3 would feature that genetically modified evil dolphin, Dr. Flipper. And this Dr. Flipper, even though it's a funny name, he's out for blood because he would seek revenge against their Sea Marine creator, Dr. Wheatley, which is also a funny name. And also, spoiler alert, Dr. Flipper had his hands in war. I'm talking Vietnam War. Is Dr. Flipper a war criminal? Damn! Episode 5 would see Dinah Pink go undercover as a bride to fool an evil French frog monster, Lucky Pierre, who would actually steal brides using his tongue, which is very peculiar. You guys remember that Hulu commercial with Alec Baldwin, who would become an alien for a Hulu commercial? Is that just me? The show really did have it all, and it also had a few parallels to stuff that we would see in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and beyond, such as the use of rock music. Before we had Go Green Ranger Go or We Need a Hero, we actually had a lot of American pop music used for these fight battles, and popular ones at that too. From the likes of Morris Day and the Time, Billy Idol, Robert Palmer, and Hugh Lewis in the News, making this a time capsule for the era, and as well as one of the most talked about parts of the show. Even in modern day times, Dynaman is actually one of the most popular night flight shows out there, being the highest requested show to appear on the streaming service. I do have a question for everyone though. If you were to dub any of the Super Sentai series, what would be your story? Is it funny? Is it serious? Let me know in the comments down below and leave a like to lock in your answer. 1,500 likes and I'll do more videos just like this one. But this show really is a whole paradox of itself, and that continues with its last episode. As the last episode of this dub is actually set in a reality quite like ours, and we find ourselves at the 5th annual Dynaman convention, which is a neat foreshadowing of future Power Rangers conventions. And there's even an in-universe Dynaman fan club, which of course Power Rangers had too. In a lot of ways, before The Simpsons was predicting anything, Dynaman was predicting the history of Power Rangers. And it was kind of genius in a way. It's kind of set up like that Chip and Dale movie that just came out on Disney Plus. The Dyna Kids would actually be actors playing these Dynamen roles, essentially playing a version of themselves on TV, but you know, they're superheroes. They also disclaimed how Dyna Pink actually dated 3 of the Dynas, 4 if you include Cowboy, which also, Cowboy, funny name, he's not even a cowboy, he's a mall security guard. This special would also show that there are actually doctors studying the popularity of Dynaman and how it swept the nation. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if there were any doctors studying the history of Power Rangers and their impact on the world. Literally, they formed a huge traffic jam in Los Angeles, but that happens every day. So why did this show end before ever reaching 10 episodes and beyond? Well, the cast simply got bored with the show. Dynaman, for the creators of the show, was supposed to be kind of like an intermediate show as they were doing their other much bigger projects, which funny enough, I don't think any of those projects became as big in theory as Dynaman, as they were actually one of the only original productions at the time the show was doing, as Night Flight mostly relied on acquiring the programs from other creators. But in general, there's such a big mystery about how this Dynaman show came about. But what is known is that this show came from the mind of Patrick Whitley, who was a Canadian television producer known for comedy sketch shows around the country like Second City TV. He had approached members of the Canadian sketch group The Kids in the Hall, Bruce McCulloch, Kevin McDonald, and Mark McKinney, as they were working on their own HBO series and helped make Dynaman in the meanwhile. The cast of the show would actually go on to say that they would be inspired from shows like Ultraman, which was of course at the time one of the most popular Tokusatsu series out there, at least in America. But even after Dynaman ended after its 7-episode run on the USA Network, it would find itself on Nickelodeon of all places. That's right, Nickelodeon, the home of the Power Rangers from 2011 to 2021, would actually host Dynaman, a Super Sentai series decades earlier, as it would pop up in 1988's Nickelodeon Special Delivery, which was their own kid-oriented anthology series that was broadcasted during weekend afternoons from 1980 until 1993, with both live action and animated programming. And I guess Dynaman just fit right in that show, kind of like a missing piece of the puzzle. There are so many different coincidences to Power Rangers and Dynaman that's so parallel. There's some crossover. It's really interesting. But this actually wasn't the last time that American audiences saw Dynaman, because we saw him in Super Mega Force for like a split second, the Battalion Red Ranger key. And even though it wasn't written like this, let's just call it an Easter egg to the Power Rangers past that was the Dynaman dub. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers would air on Fox Kids 5 years after Dynaman would air on Nickelodeon, and as we know, the rest was history. And that, my friends, is the history of Dynaman. What do you guys think about this dub? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, ddonfuego. I'm also on Instagram, not Don Fuego. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at. And of course, and as always, stay awesome, everybody.